reveal it willingly.
You brought it up in context. I'm asking, why don't you live like a socialist?
Okay.
Go live like a socialist.
The point is larger than that, Charlie.
I live like a capitalist every single day, Cenk. I live as a capitalist.
Hey,
I live what I believe.
No.
What do? I get charity every single year.
Hold on.
What's my salary?
Charlie.
Less than his.
Charlie, take a seat.
Come on, Cenk, let's go.
Charlie,
What are you doing? Sit.
Take a seat. Take a seat.
Psycho.
All right, no. Take a seat. You're gonna take a seat. You're gonna take a seat over here.
Oh my God.
What's my salary?
All right.
Oh, ridiculous. All right, behave, everyone. Jesus Christ.
Okay.
I practice what I preach, Cenk.
Charlie.
You do not practice what you preach.
Charlie.
All right, hold on. Last point.
You don't.
So that was 6 years ago. Let's see what's happening now. Okay, so I want to take the opportunity today to compare and contrast the uncle and the nephew. And Cenk from 6 years ago and Cenk from a few weeks ago. So we just saw that. That was a fun little exchange between Charlie Kirk and Cenk, who was not even on the debate stage. And Charlie loses his shit and just starts screaming at the top of his lungs at Cenk, saying like, I live like a capitalist every single day. Let's compare that to this introduction. This introduction was 12 days ago. Okay, so 12 days.
So, Cenk, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for that warm welcome. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
So Cenk, the spirit of inviting you is that there's some confusion of these divides of right versus left, populist versus corporatist. I guess a good opening would be, as a man in the progressive movement, as one of the leaders of the progressive movement, what do you make of this last year, the state of the Democrat Party, and kind of American politics from the more progressive left perspective?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm proud to represent the left flank of the populist movement, and I think we need both flanks, so I'm happy to have this conversation. In terms of...
Okay, so I'm just going to stop it right there. Remember, I did not realize that clip from 6 years ago would have as much relevance, but Charlie Kirk says that he lived like a capitalist every single day 6 years ago. Now he's having a cordial conversation with Cenk, and Cenk's like, I'm the progressive part of the populist movement. You're the conservative part of the populist movement. It is insane, dude. Yeah, you think Charlie Kirk has changed his I live like a capitalist every single day stance? Just right off the bat, there is no conservative populism. Conservative populism is just what? Racist? It's just racist progressive populism. It's just racist pro-worker stuff. There is no racist pro-worker stuff because the fucking companies that are trying to fight against the workers use racism as a tool to divide the working class. So right on its face, like, conservative populism is a straight up oxymoron. Okay, let's play a little bit more of this.
What has gone wrong in the Democratic Party? It's the same thing that went wrong in the Republican Party, but I do have to give you guys credit for a revolution well done.
Okay, so Donald Trump is, according to Cenk, the revolution that the Republican Party did well. Yes, this is the man who is literally bought and paid for by the richest man in the world. He is literally bought and paid for by the richest man in the world. Elon Musk has been going to war with, I guess, what you can call conservative populists, even though they're basically just anti-immigrant poor people. Elon Musk has been going to war against them. And Donald Trump took Elon's side. He is the revolution that the Republican Party did well. So right off the bat, Cenk is bending the truth to try to cozy up to these guys who are in power right now. And maybe you can say that he's trying to co-opt the momentum and try to, say, oh, yeah, I'm with you guys. And if you really want to be populist, then maybe check my show out. Maybe you can give him the benefit of the doubt and he's doing that. But it's not an accurate representation of reality. You are not accurately depicting reality when you are calling Charlie Kirk a conservative populist figure. And you are not accurately depicting reality when you say that the Republicans have done a populist revolution and they overthrew their corporate overlords, and now they have Donald Trump and Elon Musk. What? It's just not working, and it's not a good strategy to get people to watch your program and to come to your side when you are starting off the conversation by lying to the group of people that you are trying to get to come to your side. And we can just look at this. Let's take a look at some of these comments. These conservatives are not buying it. So this is on the Right Side Broadcasting Network's YouTube page. Let's not forget, this guy called for unvaccinated people to not be allowed to get health care. Hard to trust this guy after seeing his psycho meltdowns in the past. The grifting is serious when you're actually going to Republican rallies after calling the other side racist for years. I was not happy to see this tub of lard there and still don't trust him and likely never will. It's funny how he bows down now, but if Kamala won, he would be on a different level. Wow, these are some of the most uneducated comments I've read in a while. Bruh, ain't no way y'all are buying this grift. The dude whose whole pitch is that he's an anti-establishment endorsed the most establishment candidate in the history of politics. If Kamala would have won, he'd be the first to say how dumb and ignorant MAGA is. I mean, that's actually a really good point, though. If Cenk is so happy that Donald Trump won and he was the revolution, why didn't he endorse Donald Trump? Why was he fighting so hard to get Kamala elected if she is representative of the kind of corporate bureaucracy that this liberal government has stagnated in for the last 20, 30, 40 years? Why didn't he support Donald Trump if he's so happy now that Donald Trump has kind of shucked off the harness of this burdensome establishment, and now we're in the woods of populism? Not only did Cenk say vote for Harris, but he said vote for Hillary and Biden. When push came to shove, Cenk was okay with the establishment. Cenk believed at this time the establishment is okay because the word Jermaine bad. Yeah, these conservatives are actually right about one thing. Cenk does not, I sincerely believe that deep down, Cenk does not think that Donald Trump is better for the country than Kamala Harris. And the only reason that now he's saying it is to try to get some kind of crumb of power from Donald Trump. So that is Cenk on Charlie Kirk, but I said we are going to be comparing the uncle to the nephew. So let's take a look at what Hasan did on Bradley Martin's podcast. And this is what I think is really interesting. So usually I read some of these comments later, but we just read the comments on Cenk's video. And Cenk's video was on Right Side Broadcasting Network, so a conservative YouTube channel. Here we have Bradley Martin's Raw Talk. So this is what I wanted to see. So Bradley, top comment, Bradley agreeing with every anti-capitalist take Hasan says, then going around to say that he is right-wing just shows how most regular people are quicker to agree with the left-wing / communist takes before knowing what they actually represent. So the reason I wanted to read this comment is just because the commenter is saying that Bradley Martin says that he is right-wing. So we have Cenk Uygur going on to a right-wing show and going on with his strategy of agreeing with everything and basically sucking off the conservatives. And we can directly compare that with Hasan going on to Bradley Martin's show, who Bradley Martin, even though he is kind of an apolitical dumbass, he is a self-progressed right-winger. He is kind of existing in this conservative podcaster sphere. So he'll pick up a lot of right-wing notions and fans through osmosis. So, and let's just take a look at some of these. Comments. So this person saying that Bradley agreed with every anti-capitalist take is on sad. This one saying, I'm saying it, America deserves single-payer healthcare. I think Hasan is genuinely a good dude, and that's saying something considering I'm Armenian, so I'm going to have to find something else to blame my intergenerational trauma on. So this guy, Hasan, fixing Balkan state blood feuds. Hasan is who young men need to hear out. Modern bro culture has become so infiltrated by right-wing propaganda that people forgot so much of gym bro culture for elder millennials was dirtbag lefty. Leftovers, but it's Bradley and Hasan. Hasan advocates for regular people every day. I admire him. W gets Hasan and Brad are talking about the real shit that the mainstream media ignores. Good chemistry, too. Didn't know much about Hasan before this, but he seems really down to earth and nothing like what all those clips showed him. Thanks, Brad. Excited to hit gym in 2025. This podcast actually made me realize that he isn't left-leaning and left-extreme as he seems. I actually respect this a lot. I've changed my views on him. So Hasan actually doing what Cenk Uygur wishes that he could do. So let's just get into this, and we might toggle back and forth between Cenk's interview with Charlie Kirk and Hasan's interview with Bradley Martin. I'm not going to watch a whole thing. I just want to get a taste so we can see the differences in strategies between the uncle and the nephew.
And you know what that means. Prize Picks, go download the app, win or lose. Download the app right if the game is off at some. So give it win, lose.
I don't believe in ethical reacts. Oh my god. Holy shit. This is getting me going, dude. We get some shirtless pics right off the bat.
Oh man. You got like the busiest guy ever right now.
I know.
Do you think you're more busy now than you've ever been?
No. Well, I mean, look, 2020, when I went full-time Twitch streaming,
Yeah.
I streamed 42% of the entire year.
Every time I see, you know, when they measure like streamers and hours watched,
Yeah.
you're always up there. Like,
Yeah.
but you stream, like out of everyone, I think you're the most consistent streamer.
Yeah. Every day, baby. 11 a.m. Pacific time is when I start. And then I go to like 8 p.m. usually.
And did you always talk about politics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I first started, originally, I did it because I was at the Young Turks back then. And I was like, I want a place where I can just like have my own thing. Cause like working under somebody else, like they just do whatever they want. Right.
Yeah.
So that sucked. I wanted my own place where I can have my own community and say whatever the fuck I wanted. But I started playing Fortnite. I strapped a PS4 camera onto my PlayStation 4 at the time. And I started directly streaming you could directly broadcast on the PS4.
I remember.
So I started doing that, playing Fortnite, and I would like have my other like journalist friends on, and we'd be talking about like Israel, Palestine while playing Fortnite.
Back then.
Yeah, even back then, even like all the way back in like 2018. So then I switched over to the desk.
Riley's like, Riley's like, Israel, Palestine, didn't that just happen like last year on October 7th? What was there to talk about before October 7th?
Stop, and and then I went full time in 2020, and here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we did that interview on your stream, like you were getting like concurrent, I don't know if on that day, but you during the election process, you were getting like 300,000 people watching. And I think it's, for me, I kind of said this to you when you came into the live stream in my gym, but it's really interesting to see the growth of people like you in this space, because it really highlights how powerful social media has become.
Yeah.
Like
it's wild. Like the numbers, especially in like key demographics, like originally the key demos that they care about used to be 18 to 35. They changed it because they were like, no 18 to 35-year-old watches TV.
Yeah.
So they went up to like 54. I think now it's like, they say like 25 to 54 or something is the new primary demo target for like TV ads. And even on that front, I'm like destroying most of the other TV networks.
Do you feel like, obviously you feel cool, but like, do you feel an obligation to kind of be a certain way? Like, do you know, because all your like, I feel like when I first saw clips of you way back in the day, like your takes were like way more based.
What do you mean?
Like, no,
That's
you just
funny.
said I've seen old clips of you.
Your clips were based. Okay, so what is it? The transphobic takes that Hasan had? Saying America deserved 9/11. Is that the base takes that Bradley's talking about? Oh my god. Okay, so to be fair to Cenk, Bradley Martin is a moron, and Charlie Kirk is armed with conservative talking points. So there is that difference. But like, also to be unfair to Cenk, you could go on to apolitical shows like this and just be a normal person and kind of like Trojan horse in your political views in your normal conversation. But Cenk's a very angry man, so I don't know if he has that capability in him anymore.
You're saying crazy shit where people will bring up, but not that they're not based now, but like you just, have you felt like you had to be more left in like all your stuff?
No, if anything, I got more left now than I was back then.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Or well,
Like you were more based
no,
then.
but not no. More left as in like I was more quote unquote woke, I think. Unless you're talking about like bro tip stuff, which is like way back in the day.
That's
what you're, okay. What I was like, I look like Steven Crowder. Oh, God, it's so embarrassing.
That's what he's talking about.
Not even like the embarrassing that I was trying to satirize, but like just the way I looked. That's from like 2013, I think.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do like a satirical bro show, but also
God, Bradley Martin is what is it? Wait, his name literally is Brad. That's the meme, right? Like a Chad is like the asshole, and a Brad is like the gym bro that is nice, right? Nice and dumb. That's Bradley Martin. Holy shit! I did not realize that his name is actually Brad. So I want to watch his Fallout with Ethan Klein segment, and then I want to see. Okay, so we'll probably watch this up for like until the 30-minute mark, and then if it's interesting, maybe I'll come back and watch this later. But yeah, I want to see like where Hasan talks about the internal disagreements within the political parties. So I'm just gonna skip to. I'll just play it.
like, try to crack jokes, but also like cover the news and stuff too. But very quickly, I was like, this is not like, this sucks.
Yeah.
And then we deleted them, and then people resurfaced them, and they always love bringing it up to be like, see, you used to say that. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty open about it. Like I definitely was like way more misogynistic. I used to definitely have transphobic takes.
Yeah.
Like, and
Bradley Martin's so
to,
cute. He's so cute, dude. He's like, oh my God, yeah, I remember when you said the Lady Gaga might have a penis. Dude, he's literally like a fucking middle schooler at a sleepover. Oh my God, let's look up private parts in the dictionary at the library.
But that wasn't like that wasn't because like I wanted to. Oh, okay, that's what you meant when you said base.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Transphobia is based. See, like Bradley Martin is just an uninformed person, and he's the thing. Like Bradley Martin is a nice guy, and so he like if he gets gently corrected on stuff like by Hasan, like by someone he respects, and Hasan's like, okay, well, actually, it's not based to be transphobic because like trans people aren't doing anything and they just want to be they just want to be treated by like regular people. I can totally see Bradley Martin actually understanding that message that Hasan gives him and not being transphobic anymore, not saying that transphobia is based.
I didn't like become more cognizant of like the media environment. Like I organically became less transphobic. I met trans people. I started questioning why I care so much about trans people. That was like, I think that was one of the major things for me. Was like, what the do I care about this? Like, I don't really understand why this is like something that I should even worry about. Like, whatever, let people do whatever they want. And I think that's like, that was the spark in my brain. But it wasn't like it wasn't a deliberate attempt or anything. It was just like a organic thing.
Yeah, organic evolution.
Yeah. But in terms of like saying more left, that
yeah, organic evolution, which I don't believe in, by the way, but carry on.
I suspect people don't like, in terms of like, saying we shouldn't be involved in, bombing the global south and things like that. I think I'm much more,
but is that
open.
really a left take?
Yeah, it's the OG left take.
But I feel like everyone like doesn't want war.
Yeah, well,
except obviously the people that benefit from it greatly.
Yeah, everyone doesn't want war, or at least like people claim that they don't want war, but you know who wants war? Politicians want war. So yeah, I think like there's a lot of people on the right and the left who are like, yeah, why the are we giving like, let's say Israel $16 billion? Like, why can't we help homeless people? Or why can't we fix the potholes on the streets? And that's a pretty normal position. It's just it's not reflected in either party, really. Democrats historically used to at least offer lip service to that sentiment. But post 9/11, both parties are like, no, we have to do war all the time, stupid.
But it just sucks because like the more I get into politics is because like I felt like in the last few years I just couldn't avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
The more I'm just like, does this ever really change? It just seems like a cycle of like, especially now with the not necessarily you specifically, but the social ecosystem that's created around now politics, where it's like anyone will say anything to get some sort of sensational response. Where it's like they can say something about whether it's trans people or gay people or black people or some racist thing. It's like people do this now, and whether there's
what politics are these guys consuming? What shows are they consuming where it's all sensational stuff? I don't know. Maybe it's like maybe I'm just like too deep in it and I can't see the forest for the trees. But are they talking like? I saw a Rational National video and it's Elon Musk's car explode in front of Trump Tower. is that's the sensational stuff that they're talking about. It's like a humorous story that happened. I mean, a guy died. It's not that funny, but it's ironic. Or are they going to be talking about how Brett Cooper will make like 5 videos on a Aryan prom queen winning Miss Universe? Is that what he's talking about as sensational? I actually don't even know what they're talking about. When I hear sensational, I mean, I think of like drama stuff, like either YouTube drama stuff or even older times where it's like these 2 celebrities broke up and read about the real problems that caused the death of the relationship, like that kind of sensational drama stuff. But is he going to talk about how October 7th was sensationalized and overblown? I don't know.
Any ounce of merit to it, which in most cases there's zero, but it's like they do it now because the algorithm, the likes,
Yeah,
the
no, for
views.
sure.
And Twitter's become a place where I'm like, man, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
Because I remember last time we talked, I was like, I love Twitter. I do love Twitter.
Yeah, I definitely, last time we talked, I definitely love Twitter too. More than I do now, for sure. Or unless you mean like last time we talked on my stream.
No.
Like the last time I was on your pod, back then I used to get quote unquote canceled all the time on Twitter.
Yeah.
But it was ultimately meaningless, but it was, I think, more fun.
Whatever happened, I don't know if I don't know if you've ever spoken about this, so maybe I'm beating a dead horse here, but whatever happened with you and Ethan, like you guys had that show, The Leftovers, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've talked about it a little bit. I'm sure he'll see this clip and get like really mad. But honestly, I think we just had like some, at the time, what I thought were minor disagreements. And I never really like paid attention to what he was saying.
About content?
No, about Israel.
Okay,
about Israel-Palestine.
Yeah.
In the aftermath of October 7. But he'd always been like very pro-Palestine.
But you guys stopped way before that.
No, we stopped.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What the
We stopped like around October. That's when we were like, we're not doing leftovers anymore.
Okay.
So, October 2023 is like, I think one of the last episodes we did.
Yeah.
And initially, I think there was a lot of people that were very mad at Ethan, both in my community and also, more importantly, his own community, because he's very progressive.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that he cultivated in his audience were like not really with his takes. Like they didn't really like it.
Yeah.
And I think because there was also anti-Semitism rising at the time, like he saw that as a major point of concern, understandable. And I assume, I can't know what's in his mind, but I assume that he was like making the assertion that these people that were mad at him all the time weren't mad because they were seeing clips and making up their own minds, but mad for some other reason, either because they were anti-Semitic or because like someone was priming them to be mad at him. And since our communities had merged at that time because of leftovers to a certain degree, I think he thought that like my takes were what was causing people to like hate him for what he was saying. And because it's such a touchy subject for a lot of people for understandable reasons, I mean, people are very black and white. And when they hear Ethan say something that like, you know, Joe Biden has said about Israel-Palestine, and they don't investigate it any further, yeah, of course, they're going to be like, oh, you're pro-Israel and you're hiding it. You know what I mean? That's like the immediate assertion. And for a year after that, I didn't really investigate what his perspective was. We had a conversation, like last one we had was on my channel, where we had a back and forth and we had some disagreements, but we were on good terms for a year after that, pretty much. And then recently, I forget what it was. I think it was.
So I'm just going to pause it here real quick. Like, that's a pretty accurate description. The issue is Ethan didn't have disagreements with Hasan because he had real concerns that anti-Semitism was rising. He had concerns that anti-Israel sentiment was rising. And I think I've established on this channel that Ethan Klein is pro-Israel. He's pro the apartheid that Israel has. He's pro-Jewish ethno-state. Ethan is pro-Israel. He doesn't like the fact that there's this much negative attention on Israel now and that people are criticizing Israel. Because once again, when we look over the majority, when we look over like the entire body of work Ethan has done at combating anti-Semitism, and I'm going to put that in quotes, the vast majority of it has been targeting pro-Palestinian voices like Hasan, like Frogan, even like Emma Vigeland. And when he does target Nazis, he'll target Nazis that are anti-Israel, like Dan Bilzerian. He'll target Theo Von for saying anti-Semitic things. And we all know Theo Von is pretty pro-Palestinian right now. And even when he looks at other Nazis who are literal Nazis. He makes jokes and says that they're Dan Clancy, the CEO of Twitch, who Ethan says is anti-Israel. He's never really able to cover Nazis without defending Israel as like collateral, without defending the idea that we have to have a Jewish ethno-state. So I think Hasan is giving Ethan too much credit here, because Ethan has done things that he deserves to be criticized for, and it's not that he's just doing it by accident. Oh, you're accidentally saying something that Joe Biden would say about Israel, and that's why people are criticizing you. It's like, no, this is actually what Ethan believes, and people are criticizing him for a good reason.
After Israel decided to invade Lebanon, where I was talking about Hezbollah, which is the militant group in Lebanon. It's the Shia militant group. It's a part of the parliament as well. It's classified by the American government as a state terrorist organization. Not every country considers them to be a state terrorist organization, and they're a part of the Lebanese parliament ultimately, right? Like they're a political party, and they're effectively the standing military of Lebanon. But it is controversial ultimately, even within Lebanon. So I was talking to a friend of mine, and I said something like, I don't have any problems with Hezbollah in terms of like their resistance to the state of Israel. I think like this isn't about their...
That's what I've been saying this entire time. Ethan tried to say that Hasan loves Hassan Nasrallah, who is the leader of Hezbollah and who did carry out some like war crimes in Syria on behalf of the Assad regime. And I said, Hasan said he doesn't have a problem with Hezbollah in the context of resisting against Israel, and Hasan says that here. So, I mean, yeah, Ethan has been, he said some really fucked up shit on Israel and Palestine, but then also in his quest to get Hasan banned, he's done some really just gross misrepresentations of Hasan's positions too. And I'm sure that's what we're going to get when he comes back to the office after his winter break.
Sectarian politics, or this isn't about like their internal affairs. Like I don't give a shit.
Right.
Because that's not the reason why Israel is bombing Lebanon. They're bombing Lebanon because Hezbollah is retaliating against Israel for what Israel's doing in Gaza.
Right.
And he saw that, and I think that was what triggered him into, like, that was a trigger point where he was like, you're a radical. And then it spiraled out of control. I think he has done numerous streams at that point, like for months and months on end, all the way up until the election where he was like trying to get me deplatformed.
This is what I was saying. That's why we spoke about being censored.
That's not true though. The first stream Ethan did on Hasan was on Hasan. It was because Hasan platformed Rashid al-Haddad, the teenager from Yemen that Hasan brought on and talked to. That's what triggered Ethan in the first place, because he said you were platforming terrorists. You were platforming a terrorist, and you were doing it in a chummy way. You were yucking it up with him. Hasan's never really acknowledged that. He's defended the idea that kid wasn't a terrorist. And he said even if he was a terrorist, I would have him on. And it would be a different tone of interview, obviously. So he's talked about that. But I don't think he's really acknowledged the kind of... it is a little Islamophobic. The Islamophobia that Ethan's exhibited in calling that teenager a terrorist militant, and that's why Hasan is anti-Semitic. And then also watching the Houthi propaganda video, the Houthi music video that Ethan has been criticizing
more.
For
you, because I saw that on like something with Twitch, and people then blaming you for like ad revenue and like
that was another community that also has been always off my this Destiny's community. And they've always done the concern trolling where they're like he'll say some unhinged all the time. Like he's debated child pornography. You know what I mean? Like he's debated
how do you debate
ethical
that?
CP. I don't know, but he's done it anyway. Like these guys don't have any boundaries, right? But then they will so very easily portray themselves like liberals who are concerned, and they do that very well. So they started this like mass emailing campaign in their Discord to like openly, actively brigade everywhere and take like a year's worth of clips that they had clipped out of context for one whole year. Like Israel starts bombing Gaza, and these motherfuckers are like, all right, what's Hasan saying? Let's start clipping. Yeah. And they had it on a website called like Hamas Abi. They're calling me like Hamas Abi. Yeah. And they just had all these clips, and they were like they spent spam emails to like advertisers. Like I went to USC because they wanted me to speak at the college. Yeah. And I was like, sure, I'll do it. Why not? They sent 27,000 emails to USC to try to get me not speak at USC.
Oh my god!
And it's really
Dan Saltman sends his regards. That's so funny. 27,000 emails, and all of those little college kids that showed up were probably like Destiny stands too, that wanted to debate Hasan on those like Richie Torres style clips.
Interesting because like in the email, I saw the email that they were spamming, and the email was like he got banned off Twitch for saying a slur, a racial slur, which is true. I did.
What was the slur?
Cracker.
Oh.
But they didn't put that in the email. So they were trying to make it seem like I was this like crazy racist guy, right?
That's so funny.
And, you know, it's a fairly sophisticated mass brigading campaign. And it didn't really work, but they got some advertisers, I think, like were scared. Bloomberg wrote a report on it.
Yeah.
Some advertisers were like, well, we don't want to be associated with anything that's controversial. And but at the time they were like claiming that, you know, every advertiser is pulling out of Twitch. Twitch is having an adpocalypse. And Ethan at that same time was also like, you know, kind of egging that on a little bit, where he was like, these guys are really anti-Semitic. They're really radical. They're anti-American scum. That
but I
sort
don't
of
understand
stuff.
this anti-Semitic conversation is like, if you just say anything that's against what they're doing in Israel, just you're anti-Semitic.
Yeah, I mean, there's more nuance to it than that, because like
it's what it, from my perspective from the outside, it's what it looks like when I see stuff.
No,
I'm like,
I understand that. I mean, that's like the average position at this point, and I think that yes, it is for the longest time. Israel, both positively and negatively, has been associated with Judaism. It's not a proper conflation. It's false. Saudi Arabia, it does not represent like the entirety of Islam, and Israel does not represent the entirety of Judaism.
Right.
But if every single person that goes on television is saying like, this is the Jewish nation, like, how dare you, you're being anti-Semitic, then yeah, of course people go, okay, maybe it is. Maybe everything they're doing for Judaism, and all the Jews love this, when it's not the case.
Right.
I mean, that's literally what Ethan says. Ethan will say that like 95% of all Jews outside of Israel support Israel. And if you're criticizing Israel, you're actually trampling over the feelings of a minority group. You know, when black people say that we need black only spaces, you respect them, right? Why can't the Jews have a Jewish only space? Well, they can. In the fucking Jewish neighborhoods in the Bronx, they're not genociding the Italian neighborhoods that are next door. They're not expanding their borders like forever expanding. You can have a Jewish only space if you're not enforcing it through apartheid. It's crazy, dude. Yeah, and then when people point out that like Israel's not the safest place for Jewish people because, you know, Israel exists through constant violence and constant war, Ethan will be like, well, you're saying that Jewish people can't have their own spot. How dare you? Do you know how many Jewish people can't leave Israel?
I mean, there's like a classic old Jewish saying, it's like 2 Jews, 3 arguments, where it's like there's no full-blown comprehensive monolithic understanding of what Israel is and what it's supposed to be among American Jews, especially. That's not like a real collective ideal at all. But it's presented that way. It's presented that way by people who hate Jews, who want to say, you know, fuck Israel. They're doing this for Jews. This is how Jews are. And it's also being said by people who are pro-Israel and also themselves Jewish, or just pro-Israel and pro-Jewish. Like Jake Tapper says that. Like, I don't think Jake Tapper is secretly a neo-Nazi or something, but he's saying that because it's been a very apt way to deflect criticism, because nobody wants to be offensive, especially in progressive circles. You don't want to be offensive. You don't want to be a mean person. You don't want to offend people. You don't want to be called an anti-Semite. So you're like, whoa, okay, I didn't realize it was like that. It's usually just a way to stop the conversation dead in its tracks.
But so that's interesting though. That's like an interesting point where like why would certain conversations need to be just killed dead in their tracks?
Well, because I mean, it's kindness first and foremost. It's because people don't want to be a fucking asshole. I don't want to be an asshole, even though I am, right? But I think that's where it comes from. You don't want to be like a rude person. Maybe you do. I don't know. But most people, I think, don't want to be impolite. And if they don't have all the information, then yeah, they're going to trust you. They're going to take your word for it. If someone that you trust and like tells you Israel is the Jewish nation state, no Jew would ever be safe if it wasn't for Israel, which Joe Biden has said, you know? Yeah. When someone that you trust says that, you're going to be like, okay, well, I guess that's the case then. I'm not going to think about it any further. I don't fucking know. It's a country over there, far away from me. So most people just don't really think about it any further, and then don't necessarily try to understand the full dynamic of the situation.
Yeah. As far as I guess it's interesting to me because you sort of had this like falling out with, you know, not necessarily falling out, but you had this falling out issue. Whatever you just basically explained with Ethan.
Yeah.
And like the left sort of commentating because you didn't agree with what they were saying. It kind of comes to what's going on right now with the right. It's really interesting to watch. But this whole conversation about the H-1B visas and like Elon Musk talking on Twitter and Vivek Ramaswamy talking on Twitter and all these people like chiming in and kind of like somewhat attacking each other. And I know they're enjoying that.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love when right-wing infighting happens because it's like, it's rare. The left loves eating itself alive.
Yeah.
I mean, I get canceled all the time. It's not fucking real, but people yell at me all the time. They call me misogynistic, transphobic, racist, white supremacist. And then on the other side, everyone on the right calls me a pussy, soy for fucking defending marginalized people. You know what I mean? So, but the left loves doing.
All right, well, let's see how Hasan can kind of shoehorn in left ideas into this conversation about the right tearing itself apart.
When that shit to itself, the right normally is pretty unified.
Yeah.
They're like, it almost feels like, you know, as long as we're fucking owning the libs, whatever that is, you know, we're good. We're good. We're on board.
So it's come from what? Basically the base, the Republican base for the most part, speaking out on behalf and kind of like seemingly or believing they're voting for basically a group of Republicans that are going to make America and put America first, right? And then it's interesting because then, you know, Elon is basically saying like, yeah, we need these foreign workers. It's been a thing. And then everyone's attacking him because they're like, wait, what about all the people who, you know, could have or could get the jobs here?
It's a tough argument to sell to people on Twitter, especially when you got like what, hundreds of thousands of tech layoffs and you got American workers like training their H-1B visa foreign counterparts. I'm an advocate for immigration. There's enough money to go around, certainly. And, you know, there's endless potential everywhere, whether it's coming from India, China, or whether it's coming from an underserved neighborhood in the United States of America, whether it be some fucking West Virginia slum or Southside Chicago. There's a lot of unlimited potential out there that we have not even tapped into. So I don't necessarily care about those sorts of things. Like in terms of immigrants coming in, I'm a fucking immigrant. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm an American citizen. I'm an anchor baby, but you know, my father recently became an American citizen. So
my family would have been immigrants, you know, so.
What?
I'm Italian, so they came, they were immigrants.
Well, there you go. So, but that's everybody. Everybody in America is, unless you're Native American, you can trace your lineage back to a point where you weren't on this fucking continent.
Right.
So, and there's always historically been resistance against newcomers anyway. When Italians came in, they were treated like shit. When the Irish came in, they were treated like shit. It's always resistance towards whoever's coming in. The people that are there already are like, nah, fuck these guys.
Yeah.
And then, you know, after some time passes, there's some growing pains. And then people are like, all right, never mind. These guys are cool. It's fine.
Yeah.
And you don't even think about it now. Like, it's not even a thing. If you were to be like, yeah, the Irish are not white, people look at you like, what the fuck are you saying?
Yeah.
So that's normal, and it's historically happened in America over and over again. And right now, it's happening towards people coming in from Latin America, and also certainly now for the Twitter people,
India.
Yeah. But on the other hand, the reason why Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy want H-1B visa workers is because they can exploit them better.
Lower wages, right?
Yeah.
I was looking all over Twitter. You see all the sort of the people in Tesla, the people who they have like lists and lists of people who are these H-1B visa workers that are, I guess, I mean, I see the salaries, they're large, but apparently they'd be more large.
Yeah. No, it'd be at the minimum is like 20% cheaper.
And I understand obviously
because
okay, so let's just check in real quick. So Hasan starts talking about the H-1B visas with Bradley Martin, and Hasan does two things pretty well. Well, the first thing he does is he kind of downplays the effect that immigration has on the economy. Oh yeah, immigrants have always been coming in. I'm an advocate for immigrants coming in. There's enough money to go around. Immigrants aren't going to ruin your careers. They're not going to ruin your livelihood just by their presence. If we compare that to what Cenk did, Cenk says that you guys ran a successful revolution getting Trump into office. Well, Trump ran on the immigrants were ruining the economy. The immigrants were ruining your lives. Thus, that's like a passive admission that the immigrants actually are a cause for your woes from Cenk. What is the second thing Hasan does? Well, at first he diffuses the question of immigrants affecting your lives, and then he will replace that and redirect people's angers at The capital owners, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who are very much alive and well and pulling the strings in the Republican Party. Cenk Uygur has no smoke for the capital owners whatsoever. He says, you guys did a great revolution. I applaud you. You did a great job shucking off the mantle of the capitalist overclass that is controlling your lives. Okay, where's the talk about how they're still beholden to their corporate donors? Where's the talk about how they try to scapegoat immigrants? Where is any of that talk, Cenk? You said that they are the conservative populism and I'm the progressive populism. Okay, where's the disconnect there? Can you highlight the disconnect there? And he's just going to talk about like trans people. I mean, let's just jump into Cenk's conversation more with Charlie Kirk.
And what I mean by that is not a revolution against the Democratic Party or the left or the country, but a revolution against the establishment. So I knew you guys were for real in fighting against the establishment when I started going on right-wing shows and I would say something negative about Mitch McConnell. And when I did that in the past, what I would get back is, oh, no, Mitch McConnell's great. Pelosi's terrible, but Mitch McConnell's great.
Let's do that here. What do you guys think of Mitch McConnell?
Okay, so in Cenk's world, the Republicans did a revolution because they fought against the establishment. And in Cenk's world, the establishment is Mitch McConnell. That's what the establishment is. Or Lindsey Graham. That's what these, or Dick Cheney. That's the establishment. The establishment is not Elon motherfucking Musk. The guy who donated, what, $140 million to Trump's campaign and bought himself a presidency. That's not the establishment. The guy who literally tanked the government spending bill because it discouraged investment in China, and Elon Musk wanted to be free to invest in China as much as he wanted because he has his corporate interests in China. Not him. He's not the establishment. And this is what I'm talking about. Cenk does not have his priorities straight. He targets these ineffective, like, he targets these ineffective traces of past power in the Republican Party. Mitch McConnell and Dick Cheney, they were powerful 20 years ago, but now they're completely irrelevant. They had no power when Trump won this presidency in 2024. You know who does have the power? It is Elon Musk. It's all of these corporate backers, Peter Thiel. Even Vivek Ramaswamy, he's a billionaire himself. Like, can we get a little bit of energy directed at a valid target, Cenk? But no, instead, he's afraid to kind of rough up any of their feathers, and he just goes along with the grain. He knows Mitch McConnell and Dick Cheney are valid targets for him to shoot at, and so he does. He doesn't go against them whatsoever.
There's a currency exchange, right? If you're sending money back to your family and you come from a country where there's like a currency exchange rate that favors, the American dollar,
right? That's
automatically, you're like, yeah, I'll take a 20% pay cut. I don't give a fuck. And on top of that, you get to work towards earning a citizenship in the United States of America. Maybe bring your family here. So yeah, you're going to be very excited at the prospect. But more importantly, it's an additional pressure because if you lose your job, then you're fucking, you're done. Yeah. You're out. You're deported. Meanwhile, there is already pre-existing pressures for American citizens to retain those jobs as well.
Right.
What do we got? In order to be able to get to those jobs, you have to go to college. College is $100,000 to $200,000 now. You got to take on student loan debts.
Yeah.
When you take those student loan debts, you have to pay off those debts. So then you take a job that you normally wouldn't take, and you just take it, and you gladly try to keep it to the best of your ability. You're vulnerable already. Another pressure for American citizens is healthcare. We don't have free healthcare in this country, unlike every other fucking comparable OECD nation, right? It's not like the Canadians are super woke or socialist or anything or better than us, right? They're not.
I've heard issues with free health. Not obviously, I understand like your point to have it, but there's also other issues that come along with it being free too, where it's like I know people in Canada who can't even get anything done for 7 months.
So those issues are almost always as a direct consequence of underfunding. politicians in countries like that, right-wing politicians, because they have right-wing, left-wing dynamics as well, like in the UK, for example, will systematically underfund healthcare deliberately. They do that so it's shit. They do that so it's understaffed and the hospitals look like dog shit and there's not enough doctors and nurses and the wages are low for the doctors and nurses. So when they fight back and demand higher wages, they're like, oh, we don't have money. Sorry. And then they turn around and go, we got to privatize this. They do that because they want to privatize it. They underfund it and then they privatize it. They privatize certain aspects of it. And inevitably, the entire thing becomes private.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate goal for them. And at that point, you turn into the United States of America.
So from your perspective, like, how do you actually fix this? Because it just seems like you obviously have people on one end who are like, you know, working hard to grow a business, and they feel like, well, I don't want to pay for other people's shit. Right. Mm-hmm. That's like the whole beef with it.
But you're always paying for other people's shit.
No,
that's
I'm aware that I pay a fuck ton of taxes.
Yeah. And that's the thing though. Like I know I'm unique in this and people get mad at me for even saying this, but like, I don't have a problem paying taxes. It sucks that like it goes to, I don't know, murdering children in Gaza, a big chunk of it, and not to fixing the fucking pot.
I mean, so what Hasan's doing here compared to what Cenk is doing is he is not letting, I mean, he's sticking to a progressive message, which is kind of the bare minimum you need to do if you're talking with any kind of non-progressive media campaign and you are trying to get across a progressive message. Like, stick with it. Cenk's message is, yeah, we're anti the establishment, right? We're anti Mitch McConnell. That's not a progressive message. We just have to call that out. That's not a progressive message. A progressive message would be being anti-capital, and Trump and the Republicans right now are pro-capital. Call that shit out. So yes, that's the bare minimum. Stick to your message. And then the other thing that he's doing is he's kind of like walking through this, like kind of like walking down this road right now. He's walking down the road of these H-1B visas and the issues with them, and then the solutions with them, and kind of who's to blame and all of this stuff. He's like walking down the road, kind of giving Bradley Martin a tour of progressive politics, and every kind of roadblock they reach where Bradley Martin's like, okay, well, I mean, but in Canada, healthcare sucks, right? You have to wait 7 hours. Hasan very like gently but firmly pushes back against that, and he does address that. And the issue is, like, obviously when Cenk's going to be talking with Charlie Kirk, if Charlie brings up something and then Cenk pushes back against that, then they're going to have like a whole debate over it. Oh shoot, I think I just closed those tabs. Well, it's not wanted.
Is the Democrat
insist and demand on my gun control policies when we're in the middle of a national election? No, because I know those are not winning issues at this point. I've got more work to do to convince the American people before we get there. So if on trans issues or any other, or crime issues, etc., if you really believe in the most far left positions, as I do on gun control, for example, that's okay. But you've got to know what to emphasize and what not to emphasize. And so if you say, no, I'm going to die on every extreme hill, well, you will. Electorally, politically, you will die on that hill. And then you lose on all of your issues, because it's sometimes a binary game. Certainly elections are. So you got to know what to convince the American people of and what to hold your ground on. And the number one thing to hold your ground on is constitutional rights. So I'm going to do some...
Like the Second Amendment.
So, no, I know. So guys, look at that. We totally disagree on that issue, but we just...
You were asking for that one, I'm sorry.
No problem. No, but look, but that was an important moment, because we totally disagree on that issue, but we just shook hands anyway.
Yeah, that was an important moment. It is an important moment. I don't think it's an important moment in the way you think it is, Cenk. I think that's a moment where you really just lost all confidence from progressives in yourself. I mean, he just tanked himself there. So the reason I wanted to play that specific clip is because we have a moment where Cenk is giving his spiel. I don't agree with his spiel. His spiel is basically, you know, there's some positions that are morally and ethically correct and logically and scientifically correct that I support, but I'm going to abandon them because they don't happen to be popular right now. Which, A, they're not going to be popular if that's the way you portray them when you are doing propaganda trying to push your political agenda onto a group of conservatives when you're like, yeah, we don't need to talk about that. No, push the truth. You are a pundit for a progressive platform. You should push the truth. So that's why I don't agree with his strategy. But then he's giving his spiel, and then he comes across a roadblock of Charlie Kirk pushing against it. Oh yeah, well, we should support constitutional rights like the Second Amendment. And then Cenk is like, okay, agree to disagree. I disagree on that, but we'll shake hands and move on. No, don't shake hands and move on. Like, if you are going to have a debate over this thing, then have a debate over it. Don't just be like, all right, I'll take that jab that you stuck me with, and I'm just going to roll over. I'm going to turn the other cheek. Yeah, dude, you're not fucking Jesus Christ. So that's another difference between the rhetoric that Hasan uses and
You're backtracking.
the strategy that Hasan uses, and how Cenk does it. Here we go.
Potholes, but at the end of the day, even if a percentage of it is going to the teachers, if a percentage is going to the schools, then I'm like, yeah, you got to do that. And I think that is unfortunately that's not a very commonly held perspective, because so much of our taxes go to like irrelevant shit that only benefits the corporations and you know, the super wealthy.
So that's the really big overarching thing is like, how do we ever fix something that is just so money driven? I mean, it's just, you know, even this conversation about the visas, it's about being able to get the wage here, to have the leverage of the people that are, you know, needing to be here at that certain wage, have to do it, because if they don't, they got to go back home. They also make way more money here than they would there. So then it makes sense for the corporation to be like, yeah, of course we want that guy because we can pay him less, and he like has to
doing
work
the same job. He's doing more. He's doing more than the American citizen, because, and Elon did this with Twitter. He went to Twitter and he fired like what, 50% of the staff, right? Immediately, day one. He fired all those people. The only employees he retained, he kept, were H-1B visa workers. Why did he do that? Because those guys, if they get fired, they're going to get deported. So now you can force those guys to fucking stay there all day, every day, sleep at the office. They're basically indentured servants. That's what Elon Musk wants. That's what wealthy people want. They want to be able to get the most amount of time and productivity out of each individual employee. And the more vulnerable you are, like, you know, the fear of deportation, the easier it is for your boss to turn around and be like, all right, I'm calling you up at 10 p.m. on a Friday afternoon. Oh, you got a fucking family emergency? You better get your ass in the office right now. I got a problem. If you say that to an American citizen will be like, no.
Yeah.
You
so
know?
you don't think there's any merit to at least what Vivek was trying to say as far as like the culture of like America and like there not being this work ethic. And he was kind of talking about the whole like, which I found really funny. The
nerds and the jocks.
The nerds and the jocks.
Yeah, he was like, oh, I didn't get enough pussy in high school, so that's the reason why Americans are getting too much pussy.
I mean,
they're focusing on, they're venerating jocks.
It's also ironically racist to be like, yeah, India has a culture of working hard. Like, India is the most populous country in the world. They're not a monocultural country where everyone wakes up and their parents are like, you must study for 3 hours before school today.
Nerds. It's like, no, that's just, he's a fucking nerd.
You know,
and that's why he's saying that.
The thing that I wish Elon would have led with was he, you know, after the whole shitstorm, he started to respond to people and was like, oh, there should be this like, we should fix this system as well. And then we should have like a sort of like a minimum or like a, so that it's the same if they hire these people or as far as like the immigrants or if they hire American workers.
Yeah, if they had wage parity.
That's kind of what he was going toward. He started talking about that like kind of after the shitstorm had.
He would never in a million years look for that, because then that's profit margins. That's hurting his profits. That's hurting his bottom line. He relies on H-1B visa workers. I don't trust super wealthy people,
What if he
billionaires,
does?
millionaires.
What if they do
and,
change that? Will you say sorry to Elon?
you sure? I'd be shocked because I'm of the mindset that these guys will say anything and everything as long as you're not focusing on the actual pressure points. As long as you're not focusing on who's fucking you over, who's robbing you blind, they're good. They're like, yeah, we should do price parity. They're never going to do that, but they'll say it.
Yeah,
you know.
That's what I'm saying. Like it just.
And it's the Democrats too, by the way. Don't get me wrong.
Right,
like, I don't think the Democrats want to fix this shit either.
Government and politicians in general. I just wonder, like, does it ever actually become what you think it could be to be better, right? Because it just seems like we live in this world where it's just constant more, get more.
So I mean, just notice how Hasan is taking the same kind of populist sentiment that Cenk was trying to tap into, but he's effectively redirecting it at not only Mitch McConnell, but at Elon Musk, at the establishment of the Republicans, and the establishment members of the Democratic Party. That gives him an air of legitimacy because he has that I'm working outside of the system while not sucking up to Trump and while still maintaining a critical view of the Republicans and the corporate backers of both parties. Like Hasan is being critical at the groups that matter. He is being critical at the corporations that are basically running this country, that are controlling both of our parties. Hasan is being critical towards them. And basically, the end result of that is that you are kind of like socialist pilling Bradley Martin and the people in the audience. They're like, yeah, actually, like, why are we listening to Elon Musk when he's trying to fire American workers and replace them with low-waged immigrant workers? Why are we giving him this much power over Donald Trump? And the fact that Donald Trump is kind of like doing whatever Elon Musk asks of him is an indictment on Trump, and it does kind of show that Trump is selling out the working class.
Take more, grow, profit margin, shareholders, like, and that controls this whole entire fucking nation and the world.
It seems like you're describing capitalism right now.
Yeah, but I mean, it's in a sense, yeah, but it's like not even in a sense directly, but
no, that is what it is.
But that's the world. It's not like that's just going to disappear.
No, I mean, look, I'm a firm believer that is not like inherent in human.
Like, imagine if Cenk got Charlie Kirk to come out against capitalism. If Cenk's like, yeah, the populist movement is bad, right? And it's all of these corporations that are screwing over American workers, and they have this globalist agenda to take advantage of foreign workers at the threat of deportation. All of these companies trying to take away your money to make profit. And if he got Charlie Kirk to agree with that, and he's like, seems like you're describing capitalism right now. And then you have that moment of Charlie Kirk freaking out. I'm a capitalist. I live as a capitalist does every single day, Cenk. To now he's like, yeah, I'm against capitalism. If he could have gotten Charlie Kirk to do that, no, instead all he got him to do was say, I'm against Dick Cheney. I'm against Mitch McConnell. Like, dude, go fuck yourself, Cenk. You want to be this progressive voice, this progressive populist that unites with the conservative populace, then target the actual capital class that are fucking over both the progressive workers and the conservative workers. Target them. But no, you have no smoke for Elon Musk. You have no smoke for Peter Thiel. You don't even have any smoke for Donald Trump anymore now that he's the president. Honestly, extremely disappointing from Cenk there.
Human nature. Yeah, you can be greedy, you can be selfish, you can be personally interested, but that doesn't automatically mean that we are also not social animals that constantly collaborate, that constantly work with one another and do it in like very invisible ways. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to always be pure profit driven. And that's not like some
ways. What do you mean by that?
Well, what I mean by that is like there are additional motivators beyond making money that you engage in. You don't work out every single day because you want to make more money. The more muscle mass you put on, the more money you make. That's not a direct, that's not a direct reason, right? You do it for yourself. You do it for self-improvement. This is something you care about. Same with me, right? Sure, the way we look definitely play into the way the audience receives us, and maybe it allows more people to listen to what you have to say or whatever. Right. But ultimately, there's a secondary reason for that, perhaps even a more important reason for that. And we do stuff like that all the time. There are additional motivators beyond profit that cause people to innovate, right? That cause people to do stuff, that cause people to collaborate with one another, problem solving. It's not always at the behest of the almighty dollar. We're not always, like, I'll give you examples of massive scientific, like in the field of medical research, there are so many innovative products that have come out. These guys didn't do it because they wanted to make money. They did it because they wanted to save lives. Like the guy who invented insulin in Canada, he sold the patent for $1. Now you got to pay fucking $1,000 to purchase it because a company bought the patent and then denied people the access to this life-saving medication that this guy fucking found and was like, I want people to be able to have this. Like, this is crazy. People should be able to have this. This is like going to save people's lives. This is awesome. He did that collaboratively with a whole bunch of other people. Not a single person involved in that was like, think about all the money we're going to be making. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's always the dudes in suits that make the money afterwards. And they make it seem as though everyone only cares about money. Now, this doesn't mean that people don't care about money at all. Of course, everybody cares about money. You know, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, money isn't everything. When you don't have it, it is everything.
Right.
I've been there. I know. You know, it's very important. It's freedom. Having said that, I think there is a very different mentality that a lot of people have, especially at the top of society. You know, people who are corporate executive CEOs, where they care almost exclusively about like endless expansion, profits over everything. Whereas I don't think the average person operates like that. I think the average person is trained to think like that is something that they're invested in, but deep down inside, like most people just want to be comfortable. They want to be able to have, you know,
They want to be fucking happy.
They want to be happy. They want to be comfortable. They want to have a roof over their heads. They want a fucking nice meal, get some pussy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, have children,
There's that
whatever the
misogyny
fuck they
again.
want to do. Play Marvel Rivals.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, have
That
some free
game's so
time.
good,
have
dude.
some fucking free time for yourself, right?
But it doesn't. It just seems like it's so vast and it's so structured and it's so built already. There's no escaping it.
Yeah, Mark Fisher once said, it's easier to imagine the end of the world than imagining the end of capitalism. And it's true. I mean, we have, how many dystopian movies are out there, the world ending? How many fucking movies are out there where there's, you know, we've moved beyond capitalism? Star Trek is like the only example I can think of. So it's true. It's like deeply ingrained in our understanding. We think it's like human nature that like everyone is endlessly selfish and endlessly greedy. Conservatives always talk about the family. There's no profit motive in the family. You know, the family unit has nothing to do with profits at all. It's about taking care of your own. It's about taking care of your friends. And I think that we can expand on that, taking care of your communities. And you know, plenty of people have that attitude as well as the self-interest. And I think there needs to be a better balance of that. And right now the balance is tilted on the selfish profit side of things.
But that's my question: is how do you even make a balance like that? Like, do you think?
Okay, so let's just check back in with Uncle Cenk here. Let's rewind to his populism.
Are lying to you.
And so is that energy forefront in the Democrat Party right now? And I'm not saying this facetiously. Read us into what the power brokers of the Democrat Party are saying. Are they saying we need to run more to the middle, that we need to embrace more populism? We're hearing some of the names, but what is the vibe of the people that do this for a living?
Yeah, so I can tell you definitively that the Democratic leadership and the Democratic establishment will never voluntarily go in a new direction. They will never voluntarily accept populism. They are built on donor money. They are of the donors, by the donors, for the donors. So what I need left-wing voters to understand is that they're never going to give you what you want incrementally. Martin Luther King talked about the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Oh, if we just go a little further with Joe Biden, he'll give us another crumble and another tiny increment. No, they're going to just pick a new and improved corporate robot like Pete Buttigieg or Gavin Newsom, and they're going to come out with a new script, and they're going to say, I am now a populist, and they will wear flannel shirts, and they'll go to barbecues, and they'll pretend to eat ribs, and then they'll sneak out and go to French Laundry, right? So don't believe.
Bro, you're literally describing Donald Trump right now, where he pretends to be Donald Trump literally dressed up as a McDonald's fry cook, and then he probably went off and ate a steak somewhere in Trump Tower. Holy shit, dude. The irony is insane. It's off the charts. Okay, so Hasan, breaking it down to the very individual level, very theoretical level, and I know that this is like a different conversation that Cenk is having with Charlie Kirk, but Cenk here, instead of talking about populism and how capitalism, I mean, dude, talk about how capitalism fucks over workers, but instead you're just shitting on the perceived faux populist rhetoric coming from Democrats instead of actually criticizing the party who's about to be in power. Like, have an act. If you're going to talk about the politics of the populism politics of the conservatives and the Democrats, put it into comparison. I mean, it's not even close. Joe Biden blows Republicans out of the water in terms of the populism that he was doing. He, once again, strengthened the NLRB, made it much easier to unionize for people, invested in American jobs. He tried to give extra, he wanted to give pensions to people. That got taken away. Joe Biden is a much better president when it comes to labor than anything that the Republicans have done pretty much ever. And Cenk only has smoke for the Democratic Party here instead of actually like putting it into comparison. So yeah, not the
Leave
best.
the corporate
Not the best strategies.
Remember how many times they lied to you. We need to do a populist revolt and pick a populist left-winger so we could have a real contest in this country. The establishment Democrats are never going to win. We need to go populist, and the way to do that is not by negotiating with them, it's by defeating them in a primary.
Okay, let's continue this.
It just takes more people speaking like this.
I think that plays a role in it for sure.
Like just speaking about something like that's something like I'll see where, you know, I even saw some tweet you made about the elites and you got a response from a bunch of like
conservatives.
You know,
yeah, they loved it, which is surprising because I was talking about like how they've destroyed public education.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the response, so Mike made a comment basically, it's like, everyone's just gonna go back to talking about whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's how it feels. That's how all this stuff feels, where it's like, there's these like super pain points and these issues. And then people just go back to like, all right, well, where else can I make money?
We're easily distracted, especially with social media too. Like where I think back in the day, like shit would just be important for like a month. And now it's like 12 hours and then you're done. Right.
Yeah.
Like,
but it's another cog. I mean, social media is another cog in that, you know, getting money.
No, for sure. I think money, attention, clout, admiration, there are definitely other motivators beyond money as well. But yeah, I mean, people can't stand on one issue and really hyper focus on it. But having said that,
like, would you do what you do if you made no money? If you were able to?
I did do what I was doing when I made no money.
Me too. Yeah. Not on social, because I was just, I mean, as far as being a gym bro and like training and talking about what I was doing, that's something I did.
But even politics, like this is something that I was truly fascinated by and something that I wanted to, like my opinions, I wanted to share with other people. So yeah, and this is something that I was definitely interested in. And
I mean, it's an unfair comparison to put this appearance that Hasan is having with Bradley Martin up against Cenk's appearance on Charlie Kirk's like Turning Point USA or whatever the hell that shit was. But it's also an apt comparison because Cenk put himself in that position. Cenk can pick and choose the appearances he makes on conservative talk shows. And if you're going to do an appearance in front of a crowd of conservatives and then you're going to say things that you think is going to be appealing to those conservatives, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up for an appearance with Charlie Kirk, the likes of which gets criticized by pretty much everyone on the progressive space. Hasan criticized him. I mean, you can see here Brian Tyler Cohen criticized him. Francesca Fiorentini was criticizing him. He really allowed himself to be open for a criticism because he did such a poor job there. And you can say that these strategies that Hasan was employing with Charlie Kirk is only going to work on a more intimate setting with someone who is more open to kind of getting their not necessarily open to getting their mind changed, but isn't as entrenched with conservative talking points as someone like Charlie Kirk. But if Cenk really wants to reach out to the populist conservatives, he should be doing shows like this. What are you doing to talking to a paid propagandist in Charlie Kirk? It's just delusional thinking from Cenk there. It's the same thing with the Patrick Bet David podcast. He really needs to go to people that possibly can get their minds changed and not go into such a hostile media environment like Charlie Kirk. But then again, I don't think Cenk really has his best intentions in mind, because he really does seem to think that Donald Trump, it seems like he has now convinced himself that Donald Trump is preferable to a Kamala Harris presidency or a Joe Biden presidency, which is shocking to me. But we might cover Cenk's interviews on like Brian Tyler Cohen and Francesca later, but just wanted to bring that to you because I thought it was so funny, like both the uncle and the nephew going on to conservative talk shows, and just the level of effectiveness that Hasan brought compared to the level of scorn that Cenk was met by. He was met with by both conservatives and liberals alike. He was just universally ridiculed for that appearance on Charlie Kirk, and like he's the butt of the joke. So yeah, Hasan showing people how to talk with conservatives. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you liked the video. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let's have this channel grow, and I'll see you later. See ya.